Okay, male managerial workforce of the past have given way to a gender balanced, man-targeted workplace. Okay, for instance, in 1950, only 29.6% of the U.S. workforce was female, but by 2014, women comprise 47%. Both in the United States and internationally, women today are much more likely by before to be employed full-time, have an advanced education and earn wage comparable to those of men. In addition, the earning gap between white and other racial and ethnic groups in the United States has decreased significantly, partly due to the rising number of the minorities in the workplace. Okay, and for the level of diversity, so we back to the level of diversity. For this, uh, we said about diversity in age, race, gender, ethnicity, religion, and disability status. Experts now recognize that these demographic characteristics are just the tip of the iceberg. Um, about this, demographics mostly reflect surface level diversity. Okay. For this type, that represent the personality and value that represent deep level diversity. And to understand the difference between surface and deep level diversity, that people get to know one another, they become less concerned about demographic differences if they see themselves as sharing more important characteristics such as personality and values that represent deep level diversity. Consider an example. Louis and Carol are managers who seem to have little in common. Louis is a young, recently hired male from a Spanish-speaking neighborhood in Miami with a business degree. Carol is an old woman from rural who started as a customer service trainee after high school and worked her way up the hierarchy. At first, these coworkers may notice their surface level differences in education, ethnicity, regional background, and gender. You can think about yourself when you meet something. You will think about their surface to be first. However, as they get to know one another, they may find they are both deeply committed to their families, share a common way of thinking about important work problems, like to work collaboratively, and are interested in international assignments. This deep level similarities can overshadow the more superficial differences between them, and research suggests they will work well together. Okay, throughout this, we will encounter differences between deep and surface level diversity in various contexts. Diversity is an important concept in OBwk4-2. Individual differences share preferences for rewards, communication styles, reactions to leaders, negotiation styles, and many other aspects of behavior in organizations. Increased diversity may also mean increases in discriminatory practice, which we will discuss later. Okay. Okay, and next, discrimination. Okay, about this. Okay, we record continue about this. Um, okay, continue. Okay, guys. So please use 2 minutes for radius. Mm. Okay, guys, for discrimination, although diversity presents many opportunities for organizations, diversity management includes working to eliminate unfair discrimination. To discriminate is to note a difference between things which in itself isn't necessarily bad. Notice one employee is more qualified is necessary for making hiring decision. About noticing another is taking on leadership responsibilities exceptionally well is necessary for making promotion decisions. Usually, when we talk about discrimination, too, we mean allowing our behavior to be influenced by stereotype perception about groups of people. Stereotyping is judging someone on the basis of our perception of the group to which that people belongs. To use a machine metaphor, you might think of stereotypes as a fuel that powers the discrimination engine. Stereotype can be introduced not only because they may affect the perpetrators of discrimination, but also because they can affect how potential targets of discrimination see themselves. Okay, and next, um, sorry. Okay, as about the stereotype. Okay, okay, this This explains the degree to which we internally agree with the generally negative stereotyped perceptions of our groups. Along with that comes an fear of being judged when we are identified with the negative connotation of that group. This is happen when we are a minority in a situation. For instance, this an older worker applying for a job in a predominantly a millennial age workforce may assume the interviewer thinks he is out of touch in the current tense. What creates a stereotype trait is not whether the worker is or is not up to date with trends, but whether he internally agrees that others workers are out of this. This means the stereotype. People become their own worst enemies when they feel a stereotype trait. Ironically, they may unconsciously exaggerate the stereotype, like an older job applicant who talks about aging rambles during the conversation, and discourses too much. Second, they may over-identify with the stereotype. For example, studies of unemployed and underemployed workers have suggested they experience the stereotype identity of non-workers as lazy and aimless, even when uh, re I think re-employed. They often retain the stereotype trait of their earlier status. Third, people may overcompensate for the stereotype trait they feel. A Hispanic who try to be as boozy as possible at work and rushes conspicuously around the office may be attempting to overcome a stereotype trait of Hispanics as lower workers. This may happen even if the workplace has many ethnic minority employees, since minorities perceive stereotypes about each other. Lastly, people may perform differently when reminded of their stereotype group. Stereotype trait has serious implication for the workplace. Employees who feel it may have lower performance, lower satisfaction, negative job attitudes, decreased engagement with organization, decreased motivation, higher absenteeism, more health issue, and higher turnover intentions. Thankfully, this is something we can combat in the workplace by treating employees as individuals and not highlighting group differences. The following organizational changes can be successful in reducing stereotype trait, increasing awareness of how stereotype may be perpetuated, reducing differential and preferential treatment through objective assessments, banning stereotype practice, and measures confronting microaggression against minority groups and adopting transparent practice that signal the value of our employees. And the next one, the diversity in the workplace. Okay, diversity is a broad term, and workplace diversity can refer to any characteristic that make people different from one another. Okay, and next, biographical characteristics. Um, about biographical characteristics such as age, gender, race, and disability are some of the most obvious way employees differ. Let's begin by looking at factors that are easily definable, are readily available. Data that can be obtained for the most part from an employee's human resources or HR file. Variations in surface level characteristic may be the basic for discrimination against classes of employees. So it is worth knowing how related they actually are to work outcomes. As a general rule, many biographical differences are not important to actual work outcome, and far more variation occurs within groups sharing biographical characteristics that between them. For the first one, we talk about age. Age in the workplace is likely to be an issue of increasing importance during the next decade for many reasons. For one, the workplace is aging worldwide in most developed countries. By projection, around 83% of the growth in the labor force from 26 to 2016 will have come from workers over age 54 in the United States. Okay, this is the example of about the stereotype of older workers as being behind the time grumpy and inflexible and changing. Managers often see a number of positive qualities other workers bring to their jobs, such as experience, judgment, a strong work ethic and commitment to quality. Okay, and when organization find the relationship between age and job satisfaction, this means this is the good for the organization outcome. Okay, next. Sex, feel issues initiate more debates, misconceptions, and unsupported opinions than whether women perform as well on job as men. The best place to begin to consider this is with the recognition that few, if any, differences between men and women affect job performance. Thus, may have slightly higher math ability and women slightly higher verbal ability. The differences are fairly small and there are no consistent male female difference in problem solving ability, analytical skills, and learning ability. One meta analysis of job performance studies found that women score slightly higher than men on performance measure. A separate meta analysis of the leadership study indicated that women and men are rated equally effective as leaders. Okay, yes, by biases and stereotypes persist. Managers are influenced by gender bias when selecting candidates for certain positions. For instance, men are preferred in hiring decisions for male-dominated occupations, particularly when men are doing the hiring once on the job. Men and women may be offered a similar numbers of developmental experiences, but females are less likely to be assigned challenging positions by men, assignments that could help them achieve higher organizational positions. Moreover, men are more likely to be chosen for leadership roles, even though men and women are equally effective leaders. A study of 20 organizations in Spain, for example, suggests that men are generally selected for leadership roles that require handling organizational crises. Okay, and sex discrimination has a pervasive negative impact. Women still earn less money than men for the same position, even in traditionally female roles. In a recent experiment, managers allocated 71% of the fictional pay raise for male employees, leaving only 29% for female. So, working mothers also face maternal war bias, meaning they often are not considered for new positions after they have children, and both men and women experience discrimination for their family. caregiving roles, women who receive fewer challenging assignments and develop opportunities from bias managers tend to curtail their management aspiration. Okay, and next we talk about race and ethnicity. Race is a controversial issue in society and in organizations. We define race as the heritage people use to identify themselves. Ethnicity is the additional set of cultural characteristics that often overlaps with race. Typically, we associate race with biology and ethnicity with culture, but this is a history of self identifying for both classifications. Law against race and ethnic discrimination are in effect in many countries, including Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Race and ethnicity have seen studies as they relate to employment outcomes such as hiring decisions, performance evaluations, pay, and workplace discrimination. Individuals may slightly favor colleagues of their own race in performance evaluations, promotion decisions, and pay raises. Such differences are not found consistently, especially when highly structured methods of decision making are employed. Also, some industries have remained less racially diverse than others. Members of racial and ethnic minorities report higher level of discrimination in the workplace. Okay, so about the disability, disability, we talk about for the next clip.